my official definition. Sensory details are when you incorporate words or phrases from the five senses. And we know what those are, but I'm just going to say them really quick. So see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. Those are the five senses. So let's first talk about a few examples. Now, what sensory details does is takes really boring sentences and turns them into something that is immediately more understandable for the reader, more exciting, more enjoying, or it's a more pleasant experience to read, and it makes a boring story come to life. So, or any even descriptions, right? Because it's not just for creative writing. So let's take them one at a time. So let's think about see. So instead of just saying, or having a story where I say, I walked outside and I saw snow, that's a pretty boring sentence. But as soon as I put some sensory details into that, it comes to life. So here's a good sentence that has sensory details about sight incorporated. So this actually comes from Holes by Louis Sachar, and there's a sentence that says something like, Stanley watched the water pour onto the dirt, where it splattered but then was absorbed by the thirsty ground. So that's a good example of incorporating sight and sensory details about sight into a sentence. Here's another one. So a really common sentence that I see when students are trying to explain taste, it might sound something like, pineapple tastes good, which isn't a very descriptive sentence. So as soon as you put sensory details into that sentence, it gets better. So for example, the tart, tangy taste of the pineapple exploded on my tongue and made me think about the sunshine yellow of summer. There you go. Let's think about hearing. So I could say, instead of, it sounds loud. That's not a very descriptive sentence, so I use sensory details. I could say, it kind of sounded like the same as someone taking a handful of nickels, throwing them into the dryer, and pushing the on button, right? I'm making a comparison and having my reader or my audience think about sound. Same with touch, right? Instead of just saying something feels rough, I can make it really specific and say it felt as rough as someone putting on a glove made of sandpaper and running it down your face. So again, good writers put tons and tons of sensory details into their writing. Now, a big thing that I see all the time is most creative writers only focus on what something looks like, which really isn't enough. So really, really fantastic creative writers are incorporating sensory details, so descriptions about the senses, from all five of the senses: see, hear, taste, touch, smell. They're not just focusing on sight. A couple more small pieces of information. So, a good writer, again, when you know that you're doing the right job, is it takes a story that feels like it's pretty basic and it actually makes it feel real to the reader. That's really what sensory details do for the reader. So there's this phrase in creative writing that we use all the time that says, oh my gosh, now I can't even remember it. Show, don't tell. So, right, if I'm telling you, well, it tastes good, I'm not making that feel real at all. So instead, I can show that to you with the sensory details, just like my pineapple example, right? It was tart and tangy and it exploded on my tongue. I'm showing, I'm not just telling. And that's another big reason why we use sensory details. So you can't have too many. Often the problem I see is that people have hardly any, and especially that they only have one from just one of the senses rather than really, really showing, not just telling, with all of the senses. So I hope that you'll start using them. That's what this project and assignment is kind of like forcing you to do. But I hope that you won't forget this skill. It's, again, the biggest thing, the biggest trick as a creative writer. As soon as you just start shoving a story full of sensory details, immediately it makes it more creative and more enjoyable for a reader because it made it feel like it came to life. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.